I didn't put my clocks forward this year in spring as an experiment to see how long I could go remaining on the correct solar time, Greenwich Mean Time. And it worked for a couple of weeks until my kids went back to school, because that morning routine was really what made me, conform to British summertime. But my clock at work, my clock in my car, and the clock on my desk, they all still remain at Greenwich Mean Time. And here we are in July. Now, my body has to conform with British summertime, but I know what the real time is. And some people say that just must be chaos for me. Well, it's kind of challenging sometimes, but when I go to bed and it's nearly 11 o'clock at night, I know that it's not nearly 11 o'clock at night and it's still light outside. It's just nearly 10 o'clock at night and it's still light outside. So, I have blackout blinds in the morning, which means that the summer light, the morning light doesn't wake me up. Well, the argument for that is, well, if you've got blackout blinds, why don't you just put them down at night and then you can go to bed whenever you want, regardless of whether it's light outside or not? Well, actually, I've tried that, but it doesn't really work, because when it's daylight outside and you're making that decision to go to bed, no melatonin has been produced yet in your body. You haven't had any kind of transition from daylight to nighttime. So when it's daylight outside and there's light coming in all the windows, and you just go into a room and just switch the light off and, just have the blackout blind, I find it doesn't really work at all. But in the mornings, you don't really notice. You're blacking out the light and you're just not getting woken up early in the morning. So that works perfectly fine. But what's going to happen now is evenings are starting to get darker again. And people are saying, oh, evenings are starting to get darker, and then in October, then we're plunged back into darkness again. Oh, I hate this. Why can't we keep it summertime all year round? Well, you wouldn't be plunged back into darkness in October if you were on the normal standard time anyway, Greenwich Mean Time, which is what I will be on. So when we approach October, it's no harsh transition for me, because you slowly get the darker evenings and you wouldn't notice. You wouldn't have any plunging into darkness in October. It would just be what you're used to at the time. And now I've realised that there's already light evenings in the summer anyway with Greenwich Mean Time. It doesn't get dark till like 10 o'clock at night through the summer. Why do I need it to not get dark until 11 o'clock at night? And I can't see how this has any benefit on the economy, which is what the government argues. Like, if the sun goes down later, people stay out later, they spend more money. Well, that's true, but it's not as if like it gets dark at 5 p.m. all year unless you put the clocks forward. You still get light evenings throughout the summer anyway. So until about 9 o'clock, 9:30, families and people do stay out anyway. So there's actually no argument that I can see for this crazy thing we do of just putting our clocks forward by 1 hour.